If you believe history told you everything about princesses, it didn't. What you're about to hear was never meant to be taught, never meant to be framed on palace walls, never meant to survive outside sealed archives. This is not about crowns, not about weddings, and certainly not about love. This is about the night before all of that, the night with no official name, the night when the fate of royal women was decided, without their consent, and often without their understanding. If you're drawn to erased records, to dark history powerful institutions tried to bury, and to stories that vanished because the truth was too dangerous, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because stories like this are not allowed to surface twice. History never taught you how princesses were tested. It only taught you how they were married. You were shown the dresses, the processions, the bells, the carefully staged ceremonies that turned political contracts into fairy tales. But history remained silent about what happened before any of that. Before the gown, before the wedding night, before the crown ever touched their heads. In medieval and early modern Europe, royal marriage was not a personal union. It was an act of state, a diplomatic weapon, a biological strategy, and the princess was not a bride. She was an asset. Her body, her behavior, and her silence were all subject to inspection, just as borders, treasuries, and heirs were. When historians began re-examining royal and ecclesiastical archives from the 13th to the 16th centuries, they noticed something disturbing. Short, administrative phrases appeared repeatedly, always at the same moment, always without explanation. She was confirmed as ready. She was found suitable. The procedure was completed. No signatures. No descriptions. No clarification of what the procedure actually was. Yet these words alone were enough to finalize a royal marriage, or cancel it entirely. These phrases never appear randomly. They always follow a brief disappearance of the princess from public life. Not illness. Not mourning. Isolation. Across France, Burgundy, Castile, Austria, and the territories of the Holy Roman Empire, correspondence records describe young royal women being moved to secondary palace wings shortly before marriage. Quiet wings. Restricted access. Minimal staff. Rooms that were never intended for celebration. Expense ledgers never meant for public eyes reveal strange, recurring entries. White cloth. Single use. Extra candles. Purchased for one night only. Payments made to individuals without official titles, neither court physicians nor ordained clergy. The records never explain these expenses, but they repeat them. And repetition without explanation is not coincidence. It is protocol. In 14th century France, court correspondence references an unofficial but powerful female role, never fully named, only described by function. She was neither doctor nor nun. Yet no royal wedding date could be confirmed without her signal. One letter states clearly, "No date shall be fixed until the signal arrives." The signal was never delivered publicly. It arrived at night, and sometimes it never arrived at all. When it didn't, the marriage simply vanished. In Tudor England, a court scribe left behind a chilling marginal note. She failed the trial. No elaboration. No name. The next line reads, "She was relocated before dawn." After that, her name disappears entirely. Not from marriage records. Not from death registries. Not even from convent archives. It is not a lost document. It is deliberate erasure. Modern historical analysis suggests these trials were not medical examinations in the modern sense. They were assessments of the body's conformity, of behavioral compliance, of psychological submission. In several German principalities, surviving notes refer to observations of calmness, silence, and obedience. Unexpected reactions, fear, resistance, distress, were documented. Sometimes, That alone was enough to deem a princess politically unfit. In dynastic Europe, a woman who could not be controlled was not corrected. She was removed. In late 15th century Castile, a royal marriage contract survives with one name violently crossed out less than a day before the ceremony. No explanation. No diplomatic fallout. Only a legal phrase. Arrangements have been reconsidered. Days later, a monastery letter describes a noble girl arriving at night, without belongings, under a new name. The letter never confirms her identity. It doesn't have to. In 16th century France, correspondence regarding a minor royal relative suddenly ends with a single line. The procedure did not yield the desired result. Immediately afterward, treasury records show expenses for transporting one individual to a remote convent, with explicit instructions. No visitors permitted. History does not record her punishment. It does not record her death. It simply stops allowing her to exist. In the Holy Roman Empire, some princesses deemed unsuitable received what documents call silent allowances. Regular payments. No public role. No appearances. Money in exchange for disappearance. Perhaps the most disturbing detail of all is that many of these women were never told what the trial truly was. They were told it was ceremonial. A blessing. A final formality. Then the doors closed. Private letters between court attendants repeat a haunting phrase. She did not know. Ignorance was part of the system. Fear was part of the evaluation. Silence was the desired outcome. These rituals were not merely about purity. They were about breakability. About ensuring that the woman who would produce an heir could also be completely controlled. Those who passed entered history. Those who failed entered silence. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is evidence. Evidence of something that existed and was deliberately erased. If history taught you how crowns are made, this series reveals what was broken before any crown was allowed to shine. If you've reached this point, you now know something you were never meant to know. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next chapter reveals what happened when these trials failed publicly, when disappearance was no longer possible. Some princesses were not erased quietly. Some vanished on the very night that was meant to begin the legend.